Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time you're joining us, Melena and myself. We have some exciting new guests on here tonight. Yes, this is Delancey. You're so very welcome. You get to hear my voice. I know you're excited, but I have to be super, super excited about this because Melena, you're not going to believe how I met our guest. Shelby and Ben are here. Ask me how I met him.
How
Ask
did you
me.
meet him? Okay.
Okay, so I actually met Ben first, I think. Was that right? That I
Yeah,
met you first? Okay.
at a
I
break.
met Ben first
Okay.
at a young professionals meeting for like our area development partnership is a young professionals meeting. And somehow I ended up saying something about chips being an indicator of who you are as a person. Don't ask me why. We all know I say the craziest things. He held up a bag of Cheetos and was like, "What does this mean?" I was like, "Oh, you're not scared of risk because of Cheeto dust, obviously." Shelby, I met going on a business meeting. And as
Okay.
I was sitting there waiting for the gentleman I was going to meet with, she and I just got to talking. And I don't even remember how adoption came up, but we ended up talking about, I think, kids and then and then we started talking about adoption. And she started sharing with me that they are going through a journey for international adoption. So obviously, I was like, excuse me, we need you to come on our podcast.
Especially because
After
I'm an
they started,
international adoption.
Melena is an international adoptee. So sit there, go ahead, get you some snacks. And I would love for Shelby and Ben to tell us about their journey. Go for it. Go.
Yay.
All on you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, what's up, y'all? Thanks for letting us hang out. I can already tell this is going to be quite a ride for everybody. Uh, but we're happy to be here. I think what's funny, Delancey, that you left out is that you did not know we were married until later when we saw each other in person. And Shelby's like, "Oh, this is my husband," and I was like, "Hey, we met like 2 weeks ago." You're like, "Yeah, the Cheeto dust." And I was like,
I did leave that out.
that's
That
yeah,
was that was such a funny moment because I was like, huh.
that's right, yeah." So it was awesome. So yeah, thanks for having us on here. So let's tell you a little bit about sort of how we got here. So Shelby and I met. We'll start in college because that's where we met. So we met here at University of Southern Miss back in 2008. So it was quite a while ago. And we started dating early, like '09. And we dated for a few years. And while we were dating, like each of us sort of individually felt a pull towards adopting, right? And so you don't
Yes.
really know what that is. Like you don't know how to um, decipher that. The church we were attending here in town was very pro adoption. The pastor had adopted several children. The one of the assistant pastors actually works for Lifeline now, and so it like we were literally just saturated with it. And so there was a very distinct pull of like, no, I'm very into this. Like I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know what part I'm going to play, but ministering to orphans and widows was certainly something that I wanted to define my life. And Shelby simultaneously and independently was feeling the same emotions. It wasn't something that we talked about. I mean, when you're dating, you're not exactly like planning out your future kids, you know. So we're still making sure that we're,
Can
not,
can
we were still
sorry,
wearing.
sorry. Can I ask what is
Yeah.
because I know people like here in Utah are gonna be like, what the hell is ministry? Did you say ministry, widows and orphans? Is that what you said? Is that like an what or am I just like is it an organization or are you just talking about women? Like
Just when James says that pure and undefiled religion is ministering to orphans and widows.
okay, sorry, my bad. I just wanted to clarify like what it was.
That's
Okay,
right.
sorry, go on.
No. That's awesome. And so like yeah, so we were still like wearing makeup in front of each other at that point. So like we were not talking about adoption. Um, but so as we yeah, well probably she was wearing the makeup,
Yeah.
maybe not me. I
Yeah.
don't know.
There you
Uh,
go.
but so as we we start talking a little bit later in our dating relationship. We were probably it was before we were engaged. That's whenever we began to realize that like we had both felt like this pull towards adoption. And so we had began talking about it, but it was very like theoretical, like, yeah, like one day. It was very like, this is what we want in our future. Right. And so we were both on board with that and both felt it and we were both confident in it, but it was never like really present. Like it just, we weren't married. Like, so anyway, we get married in 2013 and we're just a couple of kids that got married. We got married a little bit later than the rest of our friends, but we were also in school for a while. So you kind of have the friend groups when you started school, and then like the friend groups that are like after everyone else graduates. And so, we got married later than some friends, earlier than some others. But so anyway, we get married and we're living here in Hattiesburg. And as far as our adoption goes, we had moved away to Nashville for a little bit. This would have been probably 2016. So we had been married a few years at this point. Moved to Nashville for a little bit, ended up getting a job offer to come back. And so while we're back in Hattiesburg, it was real. So it was real random one day. Shelby was at work and I went to eat lunch with her over.
We're sitting in McAllister's.
We're sitting in McAllister's. There's nothing significant about McAllister's.
I was gonna say, hold on, Milena, do you know what a McAllister's is?
A restaurant?
That's it. That's
yes.
right.
Okay. Yes, they have sandwiches. It's a sandwich shop, and they have the best sweet tea on the face of the planet. Okay, continue. I had to make sure she understood, like, because she had that look on her face, like, huh?
That's right. So I can't honestly remember. This 2016-ish, early.
This is 2019.
19. There you go. What a
Shelby coming in clutch with the dates. I love it.
So this is 2019, and like I show up and like we're like eating lunch, and I'm like, babe, like it's time.
And this is 5 minutes before I have to be back at work that he decides to tell me
bring it up.
So look, timing's not my forte, And so
I was right about the Cheetos. I'm just saying, I was right about the Cheetos.
So
it's true.
Like literally, I was sort of out of the blue. It wasn't out of the blue, but like I'd been thinking on it kind of internally by myself, and I'm just like, you know what? Like, what are we waiting on? Like, and so I literally spring it on Shelby, and she's like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean?" Like, and then I'm like, "Well, I gotta go." And she's like, "What do you mean you have to go? Like, you can't just tell me this and then you just leave." And so the whole way, like I'm at work and she's literally texting me like, "Oh my gosh, like, well, what are we gonna do? What agency? Like, what are you talking about? Why have you not talked?" So I literally got probably 60 questions like, over the next 2 hours of like, why in the world did you do this? I'm so mad at you right now.
Okay, so this was the first time that like adoption was brought up between the two of you. Is that what you're saying? And you just kind of like
not
like five
in that sense, like we knew that we wanted to adopt, but this was the first time we ever like said, "Hey, let's start."
That's
okay,
right.
Cool.
Yeah. So this was that was the real point wherever like the sweat starts to begin, where you're like, okay, I've said that I wanted to do this for a long time, and I've did my best to care for orphans and widows to this point, but now it's like, am I really like, are we really serious about this? Like, is this really how, like are we really trusting that the impulses and the feelings and emotions that God has given us in our hearts, like, are we really going to trust that and start? Like, are we going to take that step of making the call and saying, "Hey guys, we want to get this thing going"? And so that was the big deal. That was 2019. That was early summer 2019-ish. And so after I dropped the bombshell on her, and we're like, okay, there's a smart way to do this. Like, there's a smart way to be like, let's make sure. And so because we've been surrounded by folks that have adopted for golly, our entire married life. We have really close friends that have adopted. And so we just started asking questions about the practicality, right? So we knew the intentions behind it, like our hearts were good and our hearts were right, but it was more of a like, how do you know when you're ready to start the process, right? And that was a big question for us. Was like, when do you start? Like, what? Okay, I know I have these emotions, and I know that we want to grow our family through adoption, but like, when do you know to grow your family? Like how are you supposed to know these things? And so we didn't know. I mean, it was a question we had never been asked before. And so I sought counsel amongst some close friends that had adopted, and I was like, we're really close and really considering starting. Like, can we come and talk to y'all? And they were like, yes. And so our friends were in Birmingham, Alabama. So we drove up there, sort of stayed the night, and woke up the next morning and just talked for, gosh, probably 4 hours, and um, really talked about. And I mean, I asked every question under the sun, like, how do you know when you're ready to be a dad? Like, how do you know what to do? Like, how do you start? Like, what are the fears that I should be having? Like, what should I be excited? Why am I nervous? Like, who do I talk to? Like, who do I call? How do I know where to adopt from? Like, where do like I know that orphans exist, but how do I get connected to them? And so they were like, okay, Ben, slow down, slow down. Like, you got this. And so I'm definitely the more dramatic of the two of us. And so, so we just had this really like fruitful and encouraging conversation of like, you guys have had this on your hearts for a while. And so if you're feeling compelled, it seems like you should take the first step. And I'll never forget, my buddy asked me, he was like, Ben, are you ready to be a dad? And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know that anyone is ready. And he was like, no, that's not my question. He was like, do you want to be a dad? And I was like, yes. And then he was like, there's time. And I was like, yeah, it's time. And so from there, coincidentally, the friends that we were hanging out with were, she was affiliated with Lifeline, and she had worked there in the past. And so Lifeline Children's Services is the agency that we're using to adopt, and they're based out of Birmingham, Alabama. Okay. And so that's whenever like our process really kind of began. And so that's how we got to it from there. And so I kind of want to pause and see if you guys have questions or if you want me to clarify anything up to this point.
I do have questions.
Yeah, he needs a call.
I do have questions.
I have some to go first.
So okay, let me ask this. What's the time frame of when you guys got married to when you decided you were going, you see my pen because I was taking notes, to adopt or like start having children?
So
how many years?
About 6 years.
Okay. If these are too personal, you can tell me to stop. Had people gone up to you, because I know the culture very much here, this is why I'm asking, because the culture very much here is like, when are you gonna have a baby? Why aren't you pregnant? What's going on? Are you having issues?
You've seen the stereotypical Southern movies, right? You know that's the way it is. You know that's how it is down here. The second they said I do, people are like, so when are you gonna have a baby? They couldn't even probably enjoy their reception without getting that question.
Did you get those kind of questions? That's what I want to ask. Okay.
We did. And what's different about us is that we knew all along that we wanted to adopt, but we also knew that was the only way that we wanted to grow our family. We knew that we didn't have the desire to have biological children, which is something that's, different.
And I love it though. I love it.
I respect this so much right now. Finally, another woman that thinks like me.
That's what I wanted to know. Like, that was another question I was going to get a little personal with, is like, if you guys had, because a lot of people are like, oh, people have tried for years to have their own and then they adopt. So that's what I was going to ask too, but you answered it right there. I think that is freaking dope as hell that you are like, we're just gonna
I think
adopt.
that's
I love it.
amazing.
I love it. I do. I love it.
And I already know, because I have made that statement to myself, like to other people, like I have no desire to have a biological child. However, I am not opposed to being a mom, but like having a biological child, like it's just a whole if. So I know that it has to be helpful to have your partner, your husband, who feels the same as you do. So it's a united front,
Sure.
because down here in the South, you certainly get looked at like you're crazy if you say that.
Yep.
So having that support,
dude. It's Mormonville here. Are you kidding me?
That's a whole other level that we're not gonna.
Hey, I'm here for
it. That's a whole other level. Like, listen, I've been seeing a lot of sister wife TikToks. Like, I already know.
Oh, we ain't like level. That. Let me preface that right now. Those are far and few in between. Like, they ain't here.
But no. I'm just saying, the way that they feel about the biological children in that dynamic, it's very much the same down here. If you tell somebody, they will literally go, it's different when it's your own.
Yeah. Jugular freaking punch.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'll press into that a little bit. So you'll probably have a lot of people that like come across, like, it's a very natural question. It's very like being questioned about your capabilities of having kids is logical, and this, like, the struggle is very real, right? And so I know that's sort of a cliche phrase, but like we have countless friends that have struggled with infertility or miscarriages and stillborns. I mean, so like those things are real, and you know, people, you know, people aren't always malicious whenever they ask those questions. They just really don't know how they sound. So if for you guys know this, but like for listeners that may stumble into this, like, you know, give grace where Jesus would have given grace also. And like there are times whenever people ask hurtful questions and they're being hurtful. That is largely not what we've experienced throughout our time. Most of the people that ask us, like, most of the people that ask us don't have bad intentions, and most of the people honestly just assume. They assume that adoption was our plan B, and so for us though it was plan A, and that's weird for some people, but even I spoke at my uncle's church. He's a pastor at a real small country church in a town in Alabama, and we were sharing our story and pretty great detail, a lot more on like our intentions for adopting, and you know, to hear him, you know, so like he gets up afterwards and he's like, the difference between these guys is that this is their plan A. Like this was their intention all along. And he correlated it to, like, you know, Jesus was plan A for our salvation, you know, inside of scripture, when like there was no plan B. It was the Lord was coming to get us. And right. And so we don't consider ourselves to be saviors of anything. But we do see that the Lord has been good to us, and we do see a clear commandment in Scripture, and we want to help meet that need.
I love it. I love it. No, I
seriously
love
that.
it.
I love this whole. So see, I didn't even know that part. I love that. I didn't even know that. Like Shelby hold back on me. She didn't tell me that part.
Oh yeah, Shelby will hold back so fast. You have no idea.
She was well. I mean, in her defense, though, we only knew each other for like 5 minutes before we got into that conversation.
That's right.
But I actually have a follow-up question about y'all using an agency in Alabama, because we did one of our earlier episodes was about different laws and how the different things, and that's actually come into play in several different people we've interviewed. How are the laws between Alabama and Mississippi and adoption? I'm trying to think of a way to ask that, going to, I guess, affect everything. Like, how does it affect anything? Is it the same? Is it, yeah, I think that's how I want to ask that.
So thankfully, our agency is also, they have a location here. And
Okay.
so we're like, our social worker is local. It's just that our country specific caseworker is located in Alabama. So that's the only thing that, but it's been very nice to have, you know, someone local that we can talk to, and call on and be like, hey, will you come over and help us do, you know, fill out this paperwork or something like that.
Oh, wait, so she's local, like she's here.
Yeah,
she's here. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, the cool thing about the agency is they have multiple like offices, and they're regionally based. I don't know how national their reach is as far as where their offices are, but they're just based out of Alabama. So, but all of our paperwork is in Mississippi. Our social worker literally goes to church with us, and so that's the only big pieces really that were mattered. We you know, you have to do paperwork everywhere, but there were no obstacles by them being in Alabama, and so we chose an agency that we were familiar with. That a couple of friends had already adopted through there and had great experiences, and so we ultimately were like, this is the best agency, it's got the best people. So that's the one we wanted to use. But that part hasn't been difficult, as far as the challenges and things like that. Like that's not, that was not our experience. Now we certainly had other challenges throughout the time, and boy, I can't wait till we get to there. But yeah, no, that was fine. So up to this point in our journey, starting the process, our heart behind it, and all of that has sort of got us to where we are, where we started our process in 19. You know, adoption for us was plan A, and this was us trying to kick this bad boy off and see what happens.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And you started the process, you said 2019, right? Isn't that what you said, Shelby, when you said that? Okay. So, I mean, did the lovely, stupid COVID throw a wrench in that? I'm guessing yes, right?
Yes. So we, you know, we were moving along with all of our paperwork, getting our home study ready and starting to put it together. And then come March, you know, the whole world shut down. The clinic that I was at closed. And so I lost my job. And at that point, Ben still had his job. And so it was fine. I just, you know, worked out every day, laid out in the backyard. It was great. I had a great time.
Yeah, Kobe was great for Shelby.
Well, that's like Kobe was great and Shelby.
Then April, it was the Monday after, or it was the Tuesday after Easter. Yeah, Tuesday after Easter, Ben got a call, and I was already getting ready. I was like laying my towel out to go lay out in the backyard, and I hear him on the phone, and he looks at me. He says, "Well, babe, I just lost my job," and I was like, "You're joking? There's no way." And sure enough, he did, and I was like, "Well, what in the world are we gonna do now?" No, it's because and so I think we called our social worker. We were like, what do we do? Because we were at the point where we were about to finish up our home study. And they were like, let's just give it a month and see, you know, what in the world's going to happen. Because at this point, you know, no one still knew anything about COVID and how long quarantines were supposed to last or anything like that. So they were like, let's give it a month. And then if neither one of you has jobs, we can go on a 3-month hold, just to, you know, try and see where we can go from there. Because like, you know, in our home study, we have to say how much money we make. Do we have insurance? You know, and all of these, you know, deep questions about how in the world can we actually provide for children and show proof of that. And so at this point, it's like, well, we have no money. We
had no income, no insurance. We we have a house, but it's
we have a roof.
That's right. So that was certainly, that certainly impacted us. But even before that, I don't understand how the Lord orchestrates the universe, and thankfully I don't have to. But we had been shown, we were moving along in our process just fine, and we had been shown a file of a child on like the Monday before, so probably a week before I got
I think it was the Friday.
The Friday before,
or it was closer to the weekend. It was somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was close to the weekend, but anyway, we had been shown a file of a child, and we were both really uneasy. Shelby and I want to adopt siblings, and so like we kind of want to get the whole family whenever we do adopt, and so but we were just uneasy. Like this was the second file we had ever been shown, and so but we just didn't feel we weren't at peace about it. So we contacted our contact at Lifeline, and we were like, look, I'm not sure this child is for us. The child is beautiful, gorgeous, and will be an excellent child, but we just don't feel right. And our contact was like, yeah, totally understand. These things, there's nothing to blame. Don't feel any guilt. We will continue on. And so we were like, great. They were Lifeline has been nothing but encouraging. Like I can't say enough about them. They're intentional, and it's not just their social workers that are actually in the home. It's that people that actually are handling like the adoption, actually leveraging the contacts, like checking in. They're very kind, and have always been really, really supportive. But we told them on Monday, like, hey, this child is not for us. And they were like, understand, be encouraged. And then the next day is whenever I got the call that said that I was losing my job. And it was COVID cutbacks. They had laid off a lot of their corporate staff.
Yeah.
Like 1/3. I mean, it was a big cut. It was a big
Wow.
cut. And so that happened. So obviously, we're like, what do we do now? And so that was a big thing. Thankfully, after that, the Lord was still good. I was able to find a job pretty quickly, and it was through just my network, just through people I know. I'm only 33, so it's not like I'm super old or super young. I'm just at some interesting age of perfection.
You are young. Don't even go there. Because I'm 35 and we're young, okay?
That's right.
38, still young.
That's right. We are so young.
We are.
And so, but I had been, we really love our city. And we go to things, like we're out and about, like we're just city people. And Hattiesburg is a small city, so like it ain't, there's a college here, but it's not
like a big little town. It's a big little town.
It's a big little town.
Big little town.
Big little town. And so we're always out and about, and so I met people, and thankfully the Lord was able to orchestrate me a new job pretty quickly. Within
2 weeks.
It probably wasn't quite 2 weeks. It was like 3 weeks, and then I think I started the 4th week. Like it was pretty quick.
Awesome.
And so I had started working for another agency. I was working for a creative agency here in town, and that was summer of 2020. So that was, COVID hit in March. Easter's whenever I lost my job, and then a couple of months later, I was working for a creative agency then.
Good.
And so from there, things obviously though were slowed down, right? COVID had kind of stopped the world. And so couldn't get in country, couldn't get out of country. Things would pick up and then things would slow down. But part of the challenge, and babe, you can probably talk about this, was like we had to redo like our paperwork, and things were expiring on us, and we had to go back and redo them, and some of the challenges, and like you handled most of that, so I'll probably let you do
like
that.
your background checks expire every year, your medicals and stuff like that, and so we were now reaching the point to where we had to redo all of that paperwork, and then we were also going through we were in the transition of getting a new social worker because our other one was transitioning out of Lifeline. And so it was like trying to, make sure that our new lady had all of our paperwork, and getting all that together. So that slowed us down quite a bit. And so we didn't, I think, officially finish our home study until spring of 2021. And so that's almost 2 or practically 2 years since we started the process. And so, so that was a part of it. Probably was our fault because we're so wooey about stuff.
Look, like we ain't perfect, all right. We are as chill as they come. We're the last people to leave any get together we go to, like, just because we like being there. So okay, so we could be blamed for some of it, but there were.
I like how they're both like, maybe we played a little bit in it, like maybe just like a smidge.
I'm just trying to. I'm not trying to scare anyone off here. Like, if someone's listening, they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's taking them how long?" And it's like, well, okay, well, don't. We're a little bit.
Well, I was saying, and in fairness, like y'all had like a couple, like life threw some things at you that were just like.
Life, the whole freaking damn world, stupid dumbass COVID.
Say,
now you know how I feel about it.
Gee, Melena, I wasn't sure we got how you felt. Like, you should express yourself some more. Like, quit holding back.
Some of the people that I've talked to that are prospective adoptive parents right now, I feel like some of their processes have been that long, which sucks. The only difference per se is maybe they've had some that have fallen through, like birth dads that have gotten wind, or other, biological family that's gotten wind, and then, that's no longer the case. So, I mean, it does seem like a really, really long time for people who.
But it normally does take that long.
Yeah, it can take a long time.
Normally it does. Normally it's a process, and that's where I don't think a lot of people realize, because if anyone's heard my story, and like if they talk to my mom, like, oh yeah, we found out about her 2 weeks before she was born, then we got her. Like that, it doesn't happen like that. Like it just doesn't. It just does not. Like
ours were fast. Both of us.
Yeah, like ours were very, but it was also many moons ago. But I have a question. How long is the home study process here in Mississippi? Like,
I don't remember.
Like how long does it take, or like how long is it good for?
How long does it take? Because I know we've learned a little bit about Utah and California and how that home study process works, but we haven't really talked about in the state of Mississippi, like, because we haven't had anybody to talk to about it. In the state of Mississippi, the home study process, how exactly does that work? And I guess how long does that like beginning to end process take? Because it doesn't just happen in like one day.
That's a good question.
No, it doesn't. So
I love it.
So we had agency specific requirements, and then we also had country specific requirements. I don't know. We're adopted from Costa Rica. I don't know if we've mentioned that already.
No, you haven't. That's cool.
Sorry.
Forgot that one somehow.
we just got it.
I was about to say we were listening, and it was good to go. We were going to get there. I knew we were going to get there.
Yeah. And so some of the agency specific requirements was that we had to write out our autobiography, like, and answer a lot of questions about like our background, like what were our parents like, what were we like as children, as teenagers, young adults, how did we meet, how's our marriage, yada yada yada, all that stuff. Then we also had to do 4 in-person meetings, 2 of them together, and then each one of us had to meet separately with our social worker. And then we also, Costa Rica requires a psych eval that we had to do with a therapist. Wow. And so that was, in the middle of COVID, and it's like, well, everyone's doing virtual meetings right
I was
now.
about to say that.
Yeah, so that was real helpful. Then I didn't have to go somewhere. I could just do it from the house. And then we had to do several, since we are pursuing sibling groups, that there was additional education materials that we had to read through, and like to make sure that, like, hey, do you know what it is that you are actually looking towards, and things like that. In our age groups that we're approved for is 0 to 8, and anything above 7 is considered an older child. And so then there's additional education material that you have to do for adopting an older child. And so we had to complete all of that. I think it was probably only supposed to take us 6 months. So, a year plus.
Does the education come from like your state, or does it come from the country that you're adopting from?
Our agency.
Okay.
So our agency, and just like they'll always advocate for the child, always.
Yeah.
And so our experience with Lifeline, which is it's a Christian organization, like they're faith-based, and so they want you to be prepared. Like they want to make sure that you're taken care of too. And so they provide a plethora of resources. And you get like a curriculum that just sort of says, look, this is the trainings you need to complete. They're all web-based trainings, lots of video-based. You're watching a lot of videos. You're reading articles and reading paragraphs and other trainings developed by their staff and team. And then you're taking quizzes on this kind of stuff just to validate your knowledge, not as a test to make sure you're approved to parent, but just as some accountability. Like it's not like, hey, you didn't pass this test, like you can't adopt this kid. It's more so, hey bro, we're looking that you actually read this stuff, so just read this stuff, right?
Gotcha.
And so I think that's what elongated our process. Was it seemed like every time we would complete something, it was like, oh yeah, like you need to do this. So I'm like, oh okay, crap. And then it's like, oh okay, now you need to do this. I'm like, oh dang, okay, crap. It wasn't necessarily that like anything was really added to our plate. Just things would either get missed or overlooked on our part. And then like trainings would happen, books you'd have to read. And so the trainings that oh gosh, I mean, I couldn't even begin to remember it at this point. So we're going to be great parents. But
yes, you are. Yes, you are.
You're going to be fantastic. I think y'all are awesome.
And so the books that you have to read, and like validate knowledge with like even the social worker. It's like, so how do you feel? Like you're even answering questions based off of books that you had read that they had assigned. So like it's an intense process, but it's I don't know that I would say it's an intentional process. And so that all that did for me. So like. All that did for me was like say that this is an agency that can actually be trusted. That they truly care, and that like, is it taking a little bit longer? Does this seem like a lot of work? Sure, but it's because they care about the child more than they care about me. Awesome. And I'm okay with that as a parent that wants to adopt children. Yes, absolutely. I'm glad someone is advocating for the child, for sure.
I love that.
I don't remember ever hearing someone else say this level, like the psych evaluation and the curriculum and the intentionality behind the reading material and the going over it. Like I always joked with people that there should be a test to be a parent.
Yeah. But
I love that though. Like I love that they're so intentional, because it's almost like they're making like you said, they're caring for the child, they're looking out for the child, they're advocating for the child through advocating you and making sure that y'all are prepared and caring for y'all. And I love that. It's like they didn't just say, hey, we're going to come check it out and like ask you some questions. They're like, we're going to bring you into this community. We're going to help you build your house. Essentially, we're going to lay the foundation, show you how to lay the foundation, show you how to lay the brick by brick. I love this. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, babe, tell them about how Lifeline connected us to the families we got to talk to.
And so, in part of our, one of the additional like resources that we had to do, either I can't remember if it was multiple children or older children, but we had to interview families who either adopted from Latin America or specifically from Costa Rica, who either had an older child or had adopted multiples. And so we talked to 2 different families, I think. Mm-hmm. And so that was really so helpful to like hear their story about like what it was like in country, and then bringing the children home and adjusting them to like, hey, now we live in America essentially, and like what do they do for school and stuff like that. And so, and just any of their hardships and going through learning English and everything like that. And so that was like very encouraging to hear from them, like, hey, yes, it is going to be hard, but it's worth it. And so, and getting to hear like how well the children are doing in school and how much they have grown and thrived since they are now home.
I think that's amazing. Holy freaking cow. That. Like that should be a requirement.
That's another step.
Exactly. Like holy cow.
Step. Yeah. Like, so it was cool. So that was whenever I learned that the overwhelming majority of children brought from like the Spanish speaking country. So our kids will speak Spanish when we get them. They lose their Spanish because they don't use it at home. And it's like, so for me, that was heartbreaking. I was like, whoa, no. Like, I don't want you to lose who you are. It's like, sure, you're going to be my child. And like, you'll get what I have. But like, you spoke Spanish when you became mine. I want that to continue. And so
you're gonna make me cry because that is like no, seriously, because like I'm from Colombia, and granted, like it's so different now, and my parents knew no Spanish. Obviously, I knew no Spanish because I was adopted as a baby, like I was 2 weeks old. But just to hear that, and I'm not like, there's no discredit on my parents, because my parents, they immersed me in Spanish and all those kinds of things. But like when it comes to it, English is my language. But just like it gave me chills. And so you guys don't have a doubt in your mind at all that you're like not going to be badass parents, because like that right there, saying that you want the best for your kid. Oh, I got chills. Oh my gosh, I just love you guys. Okay, go ahead.
If I didn't already love them before, I love them even more now.
We're just a couple of guys, y'all. That's it.
I know, but still,
we're just trying to figure it out, just like we're trying to figure it out, just like everybody else is.
Yeah, but I think what makes y'all so beautifully unique is how much. I just goes back to that word. Is how much intentionality you have behind every step that you have taken individually, and then when you got married as a married couple, y'all have been so intentional, and it's just incredible to me. Like all of this is just it's kind of mind-blowing in a way to hear. Like,
so can I ask, what are you going to do to keep their Spanish?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, so practically,
a nanny. Oh, I don't speak it. I was like, I'll come be your nanny, but that wouldn't help.
I was gonna say that would actually be great if you could do that. So she can come down here.
So that's a great question, and to be honest, I'm not certain, but there are. I was recently a part of a leadership group here in Hattiesburg. It's called Leadership Pine Belt, and you have to do a community service project. One of our projects was for a Hispanic ministry here in town. And so I met it's a husband and wife. They're the pastor at a church, of a Spanish speaking church here in town.
Oh, cool.
And the husband is a licensed marriage and family therapist. And he's bilingual. The wife is bilingual. And so I've made that connection, had a few conversations with them about, like, guys, look, I really want our children I want them to be our kids, and I want them to be under our protection, and I want us to do what's right for them, but I also want them to understand that we value who they are, and we value who they were when they became ours, right? And so we want to try and find ways to get them engaged with other people that speak Spanish. And so not recklessly releasing them out to people we don't know, but rather just be in situations where they'll be comfortable. And those are the types of people that, like, I would trust. So that's one option. And then we've got another set of friends inside of our church that the wife is fluent in Spanish, and the husband's pretty good. They had taken several mission trips and stuff like that. And
Cool.
she's actually a public school teacher here in town. And so she's mentioned several things also there. And so then you just got good old fashioned tutors,
Yeah.
So like, I don't know which one of those makes the most sense, like, and because we don't know yet, we have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
But those are definitely, those are the types of, like, connections that I make and I look for, because I'm anticipating, like, if we get, we don't know how many children we're going to get. We may get one,
Yeah.
we may get four. I have no idea. If we get four of those bad boys, like, I'm gonna need some help. We're not. Yeah. I'm sitting here, like, I'm just hanging out in places. I'm like, oh, cool. Let's talk a little bit. You get to know people. And then they're like, oh, hey, look, we'd love to help you guys if there's any way possible. It's like, I didn't ask for that. Like, the Lord gave that to us, right? So
Yeah.
just another thing of, like, that's why we're so stubborn and still full-fledged forcing into this thing, is because, like, the Lord continues to show us that this is the right thing. It's just taking a little bit of time,
Yeah.
I have a question.
By the way.
You said one or four. Just like, just threw that out there. Like, what is the possibility of, like, did the agency go over that with you? The possibility of it being 3 or more children you could end up adopting. Is that higher on the list, or is that like a 50-50 shot? Like, how is?
We're approved for 1 to 3 children.
Wow.
So not 4.
Yes, not 4.
Not 4.
But there are stories. So 4 was a slight exaggeration. Remember, I'm the
He said 4, and I was like, oh, 3 would still be an undertaking, though.
Yeah.
As well, for sure. But I was just sitting there thinking to myself, I didn't think about that, because y'all mentioned, we've mentioned siblings, and I guess my brain just didn't go past 2. For whatever reason, my brain was like, just 2.
Yeah.
Only 2.
Yeah. So
how many siblings do you have, Delancey? More than 2.
Listen, I didn't say I was always the smartest, okay?
Definitely the funnest, though.
Oh.
So I was listening to one of y'all's episodes earlier today, and I think she was from California and maybe had a daycare, I think, were some of the key things that
Jenny.
she was saying. But she mentioned a lot too, that, like, there are rules in place where, like, so we're approved for 1 to 3, and I say 4 because, like, in weird circumstances where, like, there is a 4, like a sibling group of 4, it would be only okay if, like, it was the right sibling set. So, like, their ages had to be close and their genders had to match up the right way, right? Because there are rules in place for the specifics of how that goes down. I don't know those specifics, but, like, you're not going to have 2 10-year-olds, boy and girl in the same room, right? So like there are those types of things. So that's why I say the 1 to 4, and that's why we just don't know. Like we want siblings because we have such a desire to keep. I mean, kids have been through. If you're an orphan, like orphans exist because of a tragedy. There's been a tragedy. Either there's been a tragedy in someone's life with the loss of a parent or the neglect of a parent. And so children that have been through that kind of trauma already, we don't want to add to that trauma by saying, great, we love orphans and we love kids. We want your 4-year-old brother, but the 6 and 8-year-old siblings, we're going to leave you guys there in the orphanage. Like, so, I mean, we're not going to do that. And so that's how we feel about bringing the whole family home. And so that's why we've always been, oh, cool, you're going to adopt a baby. It's like, well, no, I hope we adopt more than one, so if you're getting siblings, they can't both be babies probably. So, it's just part of the openness that we have. And it is crazy. I guess that's part of our like lackadaisical approach. It's like, yeah, it was maybe made us slow on the paperwork side, but it's making us really open to, however many kids end up rolling home with us whenever we get over there. So.
No, I love it because I don't feel like a whole lot of men come on and are so as expressive as you are. And I know Shelby said you're the talker, but like, I seriously love it.
Get it all the time.
Because like, no, because I love, because I feel like we do have a lot of women come on and advocate for it, but like to hear a guy say that, it's just, it's awesome. Because I feel like men don't share their feelings a whole bunch, which is not a bad
really
thing.
Don't.
Like when hun, if you're listening to my husband, because he listens, I love you, but you don't share your feelings. Like, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just not really guys. And so I always get so excited when we have men come on because it's not common. And just to hear you speak, it literally gives me chills, like literally gives me chills, because you can just feel the goodness. Like I can feel the goodness through the screen. Like you guys would probably be overwhelmed if I was in person, because I'd just be hugging you and like, oh my gosh, you're so awesome. And you'd be like, okay, back up. Like I love it. I seriously love it. Okay, I'm done.
So I say, first of all, I get the first hug. Don't forget that.
I know.
Everyone else can come after that. But I mean, she's right. We really don't have, we've had a few men on here and talk about things. And I think, even with Donald's episode and everything that he had gone through, I don't think it was as expressive and intentional with sharing topics. And I think there are going to be plenty of people that listen to this, even if they're not, even if it's just like a woman that hears it, it's going to make her appreciate the male's perspective a little bit more, and then that'll probably encourage her to share it with her partner or a relative that may be feeling or needing to hear another man express what you're expressing, Ben, and to open their eyes a little bit more, or to make them feel like they're not alone in how they feel. Because a lot of times, like I've noticed that with men, they think that it's just them that feels that way, and they don't want to say anything because they don't want people to judge them. So thank you for sharing that part.
And I do feel like the
helpful.
couple men we've had on have been awesome, because we've had a foster who he's now an adult, and another adult adoptee who he's a male. And like, just, I love how open everybody's been. So I love that we now have a perspective of you, like an adoptive father, even though you're a father. Like, I love it. Okay, sorry. We're just going off how we usually do.
No, it's okay. It's okay, because like, adoption, like if you would have asked us when we started, and I think even still so today, like there are probably three things, but two really, really big things that like really drive our intention for adoption. And it's like scripture is one, right? Just an overwhelming command to take care of orphans and widows, and to reflect like the gospel, like to reflect that Jesus's love was shown to us, and that he came and got us, right? So it's not this passive like, hey guys, I'm over here, if you want it, come and get it. It's a no, like you had no hope, like, and you were going to forever be stuck, and I came and got you. Like, God the Father sent a willing God the Son, and God the Son said, bro, I got you. Dad's gonna give us everything. Like, just hang in, like, come back with me, and we get the inheritance. And like, when you read that in scripture and you think like, yeah, like, I mean, that's it. Like that's what it means to be like a believer, is to recognize that you were not in a good spot, and that the Lord loved us enough to send his son to help us. And like, now we are adopted, and we get the full hit. We're not like knockoff children. Like, we're the real deal. We're bona fide kiddos of the creator of the universe. And so when you think like that, it's like, oh yeah, well, heck yeah, what can I do? And then when you think like secondarily, like, kids just need homes, and so it's like there's like a real spiritual part of it. And so for believers and Christians that listen to you guys, like, sure, like there's a scriptural command, but for others just interested in adoption in general, like, kids need homes, like, and like that's a fact. And so like,
Mm-hmm.
you literally just Google orphan statistics, and you will know the kids need homes. And like, yeah, is it
Mhm.
tough? I mean, sure, but like, can you live with yourself laying your head on your pillow knowing that like kids are in need? Like, I mean, no, some people can't. I cannot. And so it was just really that simple. And so, yeah, like, we're passionate and animated, but like it's through really simple, like, motivations. So we're not, for folks that are listening, like, we're not like we ain't special. I can tell you that. But yeah, we are sincere, and I think we're intentional. And I think, as far as my convictions carry us now, it's like we're doing the best we can. And we feel good about what we're doing, and we're trying our best. And we've had some struggles along the way, sure. Yeah, without a doubt. We didn't even get to the point where we lost our jobs again, after COVID. So we lost our jobs during COVID, and then probably around 6 months ago, we lost our jobs again. And so, so that's twice in our adoption.
Stupid COVID. I'm just gonna blame it on that.
The second one wasn't COVID's fault. That one's COVID. That wasn't COVID's fault. But here we are. Still chugging along.
Delancey, do you want to say something? The look on your face.
I just like that just kind of like blows me away. But if that second losing, I'm going to be selfish on this. If that second losing of the job didn't happen, I would have
It's true.
never, I may have met Ben, but I would have never met Shelby.
Yeah.
And I would have never had that conversation with her. Like, just casual conversation, like, oh, you're married. Do y'all have any kids? And then she shared with me a little tidbit of like, oh, we're adopting immediately. Really? I'm adopted. Like if that had not happened, I just feel like I would have never met her, and I would have never been able to learn about her journey. And then y'all would have never been able to share your journey and your story. And
right.
I just it just goes back to everything works how it should, even if we don't understand why in the moment.
Right.
I just kind of love that a little bit. Like, I don't love that you lost your jobs. Like, that's awful. Like, that's terrible. Like, I'm not saying that at all. Like, please don't. But I just love how everything it works out for a reason, even if we don't know what it is in that exact moment as to why this reason is. And maybe that was the reason. I don't know. I'm just gonna be selfish and say, yeah, that was the reason.
For sure.
That's why. But you lost your jobs the second time. What happened after that? Like, where did we go from there?
So right before we lost our jobs, this was early March or late February, I can't remember. But our packet had been sent to Costa Rica, and it had gone before their panel, government, whatever, and they had approved us as adoptive parents and said, yes, we think that these people we're going to allow them to adopt some of our children.
Yeah. It's like the final check mark of these guys are good to go. Let's match them.
Like government officials or like a board?
Yeah. Well, it's
Okay.
like so each international adoption, there's a standard set of regulations called PANI, PANI. That's just for Costa Rica. No, it's not true. It's not. Is it? Anyway, it doesn't matter. The details. We could edit that out. You know, that's right. We're gonna edit that in post. We'll just hear, you know.
Yeah, sure. We'll edit that right out.
We don't edit anything.
Not a thing.
Oh, it's Hague. It's Hague. Sorry, Pawnee is Costa Rica. It's Hague. So it's an international set of like rules for adoptions, and so like essentially so that everyone's playing by the same rule book, and so that it's like, you know, when you say X, it's the same across, you know, the world, and so inside the Costa Rican government, they have a body, like a governing body that's over those things, and so they're the ones that pass off the approval there and say, okay, yeah, these guys meet the standards, right? So they're ultimately the ones locally in Costa Rica that are saying these guys are good to go. Now the matching process is a little more, it's a little different. So there's like a real official set of, yep, these guys they meet all the qualifications. Like, and think about it, those are the guys that are like, they got jobs, they got insurance, they have good household, like they have, you know, so it's all like the real, like tangible things that were sort of being evaluated on with that particular thing. And so what Shelby's saying is like, we had gotten to that point and they said, yeah, you guys are good to go. And then it couldn't have been a week later whenever and I'll keep those details off the podcast. That's the one thing that I won't talk about. But a week later, I found myself without a job. Also,
and I worked at the same place.
Shelby and I worked at the same place. It was a surprise to me, and I wasn't going to ask Shelby to continue on, even though she volunteered. You know, and so we both literally found ourselves without a job. And so from there, so since then,
but also during this time, it was time for a renewal of our home study.
Right. All the crap that we had already renewed once, we had to do it again. That's right. Yeah.
So all of the fingerprints, medicals, background checks, all of that stuff. And so it happened at a good time because it was, you know, at the time, whenever we had to update everything, we also had to now update our financials and our, you know, all of that information. So then they were like, you know what? This, you know, we're going to see the good in it, and the fact that we only have to update it one time during this point and not have to redo something, you know, 6 months later, whenever, if this would happen then. And so that, thankfully, I was able to find a job first to help us put food on the table, and that's where I met Delancey over there. And Ben, shortly, not too long after that, was able to find a job. And so we officially updated our home study again at the end of May, early June. And so they approved all of our updates because it wasn't too much that had changed, thankfully. And so now we're just back in the waiting for a match portion.
That's insane.
The end. I'm just making sure. That's like, so you guys brought us all the way up to today.
Yes,
okay.
That's right. That's right. And here
I know.
we are now on October 25th, chatting with you guys.
I know who our next update episode is going to be.
Oh, for sure.
For sure on this. That is such like, it's such a wild ride, but it sounds like it's been rewarding in its own way.
Yeah.
Kind of. Like,
go ahead.
Well, you're not quite there yet. I was gonna say, has there been like, once you do get your children, I'm gonna have to come back and ask you about like paperwork, because with my parents, it was a buttload. Like, I can show you right here. This whole entire book is chock full of every single bit of paperwork they had to do. when adopting me. And it's like everything. It's like you guys are saying, it includes my parents' home studies and all those kinds of things. Would be interesting to see, because when we had Kim on, who's a social worker here in Utah, she was saying all countries are different. Like they vary on their regulations. And she said that Colombia to this day, because even I asked my mom, let's say I never touched base back with you on it, but they require, like, I want to say like a sample of blood. Colombia wants that much information from you. And my mom said it hasn't changed. She said 35 years ago, it was the same exact way. They want so much from you. So it's so different how each country varies. So yes, definite update, because I want to know. I for sure want to know. Like,
yeah, you left that detail out.
Yeah, well, I
Never
meant to get
followed
back
up
to
with me
you.
about that.
I know, my bad.
Yeah, it's cool. Tell your friends, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So once we our matching process will be just like everyone else's. We'll be shown case files, and there's we'll say yes, and then once we say yes, once we're approved, we will travel, and we will have to be in country for 6 weeks. And so 6 weeks is a long time, relative to most of them are a lot shorter. But anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks is pretty reasonable. I think we had friends going to like Hungary for 4 weeks, and then I think Uganda was like months, a month. So
That's crazy.
But so we'll be there for 6 weeks, and while we're there for those 6 weeks, that's where like you're meeting with all of the local regulators, you're signing all the paperwork, you're being introduced to the children. Then there's an attachment period that you follow where it's monitored by on-site social workers there in country. And then you get to bring them back to your place in Costa Rica, and they get to spend time with you there in country. But you have to check in like a week. And so like you have all these checkpoints where there's all these other things that happen while we're down there. And so like our particular time is 6 weeks. And so at the end of that 6 weeks, we'll officially get signed over all the paperwork, and we'll have all their passports, and we'll have all that jazz. And so we'll fly back to the US, and then they're like officially ours. And so beyond that, it's different. There's checkups. There's Lifeline will have 6-month check-ins, the 90-day 6-month check-ins, and then annual like a 1-year check-in, and that's just on general things with us as a family, like mental health checks, like then there's all sorts of like doctor visits and things like that to get them assessed, like whatever, maybe they have any type of special need, maybe they need glasses, maybe they have to wear a brace for something, get orchestrated out, things like that. So all of that happens like the year or so afterwards. But that's it. Yeah, that's kind of I was trying to think through things that might differentiate us from other couples walking through.
Well, it's drastically different, I feel, because I feel like people that are trying to do domestic just in the States, it's the birth moms choosing the parents. It's not like, which I've noticed, and I you think I would know this with being international, but like a lot of it is the parents are going over and, like you said, being shown profiles, where it's the other way around here. It's the birth moms being shown profiles of like you guys to be chosen for their child, where it's completely different, because it's like you said, these babies are orphans, and so they don't really have anybody being like, here, I would like to choose you to be their parents. And so it's drastically different, but I love it because I mean, the only bit I have with it is 35 years ago when I was adopted. And so I love it. My husband's been to Costa Rica because he travels the world for his job, and it's absolutely beautiful there. Like he says it's gorgeous there. Like it's just amazing there. So I'm excited for when you guys go. I'm gonna have to find you on social media so I can follow you if you share any of that, or I'll bug you. Like, what's the update? What's the update?
Yeah. And so that's a good call out, Milena. So most as far as the state of the country, the majority of orphans are in orphanages, and so they have a much strong. Or it's not like there are some foster families, yes, but it's mostly orphanages, and so like that's the type of care these kids are coming from. So that's a little bit different than stateside adoption is mostly like from birth, like you're adopting mothers, unless you're fostering to adopt, which is something different. And I believe like that was actually you've had those guys on different episodes.
Yep,
So,
we have, yeah.
And that gets really complicated. Bless those people, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, for us, most of the children will be in an orphanage situation.
Cool. No, that's crazy. I'm excited. I'm excited to watch it all unfold. I'm gonna.
I was gonna say I can't wait to learn the rest
social,
of it. Like,
or no? Do you guys share it on social or no? Because if not, I'm still gonna friend you and I'll bug you. Or else you'll just get your number from Delancey.
We do have a Facebook page that we are very bad at updating.
No surprise there, huh? All right.
It's just because they're so chill. They're so chill and they're so relaxed.
True.
Like,
it's true.
Yeah.
I just need to find a way to get in contact so that way we can be like friends somewhere that I can be like, what's the update, Delancey? Like, and then I'm excited. I'm just excited for you guys. Like,
for sure. Well,
I'm excited just because it's such a cool journey. Like, it's such a it's just a cool journey, and it's not over. Like, there's so many other like opportunities, and I want to highlight something that Ben pointed out earlier. It was earlier when he was talking about before the first time that they were let go due to COVID, is that on that, I think that you said it was a Monday that you were shown a profile, and that both of y'all were just like, we don't feel at ease about this. Like, this isn't something that, I think that's something that needs to be pointed out, that even though there are families out there who are like intentional about adoption and they want adoption, it's their plan A, it's their choice, it's what they want to do. It's okay to listen to your gut and to listen to what God is trying to tell you and laying on your heart, that this may not be the blessing that is for you. This may be a blessing for somebody else, and that's okay, because you don't know what the next day is going to bring. Because imagine if y'all had ignored that feeling and committed, then things would be a little different. I feel like that's a really good point that he made, and that they both agreed on, that they listened to themselves and they followed what their heart was saying. They followed where God was directing them, that they didn't make their choice. They followed where they were being guided to. I think that's something that needs to be pointed out too. Again, I wanted to point out earlier, but I got so engrossed in the conversation, engrossed in listening, that I was just like, I'll talk about it in a second. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. We had really good advice given to us really early on, and it was in protection of us. It was a really trusted friend, a great dude. Essentially said, like, because the decisions you have to make, they're tough, like they're weighty, and so like when you're looking at the face of a child and you're literally saying no, like that affects you, like that something about that feels wrong. And so
no one tells you how hard that's going to be until
no one tells you the emotional attachment that you immediately feel whenever you see a face. And so early on in our process, we had a very wise friend who's not old at all, but just very wise. And he told us, he said, look, you will be tempted to, like, your heart will break when you see things, but you have to understand that if you're not listening to the tug of the spirit and you're acting on impulse and emotions, you will end up robbing a child of the home that they're intended to be at. And so that's heavy to hear, and even heavier put into practice.
I bet.
But there's wisdom in when Shelby and I were both like, something feels off, or we're just not at peace. It's not like anything go wrong. We didn't feel bad or feel evil. It was just like, like we don't really have a peace about it. Being able to listen to the direction of the Holy Spirit and say, hey guys, I don't know why, but we don't feel at peace about this child, protected that child from being told hey, we found a match. And then the next day being told, hey, they lost their jobs, you can't get adopted, right? And so like, yeah, that sucks for us, but like, think of the pain the child would have went through, right? So like, I don't know what happened to that child. Like we have no idea, and that's part of the burden you carry.
Right.
But I do know that in the moment, I think the Lord was honored by that, and that child was protected by us being obedient there. And so, I mean, it's tough, like, and I think anybody trying to adopt knows that things are tough, but, that's one of those stories where it's like, and I appreciate you for bringing it up, Delancey, because that was a good piece of wisdom. I don't know why my voice is sounding so weird, but that was a good piece of wisdom that we got, because I'm definitely emotional. I mean, I will act on an impulse and be like, yes, absolutely, we're doing it because
I'll take them all.
Take them all, bring them all here.
That's right. And so being told that like is more wise than my impulses. And so I think if there's one thing that people can take away from a conversation like this, is that like the Lord is still the Lord, and like he gives us convictions, like in spite of all of our feelings. And so like throughout the process, there will be times, and you will certainly be faced with some difficult and trying times where you don't really know what to do other than just weep. And so, but it's in those moments that you just be reminded that listening to the Spirit of the creator of the universe, who holds us in his hands, is more wise than you making a decision to benefit, to do what you think may benefit a child. And so it's tough, but it's the right thing to do.
Like this for people, because I think Delancey's seen it too. People like adoptees our age that are like, there's no way in hell that God would want adoption to happen. Boom, come listen to Ben. Are you shitting me? Like, listen to Ben, because everything he is saying, because me and Delancey both wholeheartedly believe God played a huge part in both of our stories.
100%.
Guided our parents, like
100%.
all these certain things. Like, I mean, we could go on about both our stories and like the big things, that God played the roles in. And so it's just like this whole entire episode, it's like I can like the tingles and the chills. Like, seriously, I know that is like the Holy Ghost right there, just being like, this is everything he's saying. You guys are just good people, and I can just feel that. And so it's just like so crazy. And like, this is where you don't have to be the same faith, because I'm not the same faith as you guys, but I can still feel it so much, and just how powerful it is. And it's crazy because I don't think I've ever felt, and I'm like gonna get all like the presence like so much on an episode before, just like so strong that like God made this to be so like kids can have what me and Delancey have, and have amazing parents like you guys. So I'm just so excited to see everything unfold. And hell yeah, you guys have to come back once like your story progresses even more, and share everything with us. Like, Delancey, I love that you got these guys to come on. So much.
I mean, I'm not saying that God directed me into that like waiting room to talk to Shelby. I'm just saying that God totally directed me into there. Like everything about them, that even just like the little bit that I learned about them and the brief moments that I've interacted with them before them coming out here, because I knew a little bit about their story. Like I knew the very, very condensed version of the story, and it was just kind of like in my head, I'm sitting here thinking, I need to know more, and B, I feel like more people need to know about this. There's no doubt in my mind that y'all's story needs to be heard by as many people as possible. Like as many people as possible, because everything that Melina is saying is right, is that we want people to understand what we're trying to say is that God plays a huge role in this. Everything that both of you have said has proven that. Every single step, the good, the bad, the great, like all of it, it was like, it was all guided. It was all in a plan. And whenever I tell people that, I tell people all the time, like, God had his hand on me before my first heartbeat. Like I say that, like his hand was on me before my first heartbeat, because there's no way that my story and Melena's story, same for her, would have worked out how it did if his hand wasn't on us but now it's kind of, I think it solidifies a little bit more hearing y'all talk that his hand was on her parents. There's no,
100%.
it's nice hearing from y'all's perspective and y'all's journey, and hearing, I mean, y'all are in, not, y'all aren't just, y'all don't live the word, you're in the word, and it shows in everything that you're sharing. And I'm just so glad y'all were on here to be able to share all of that, because it just, it's just, I don't even have more words out of that, which is weird because I talk a lot.
We just need more people like you guys, because this day and age, holy hell, the world is a dark ass shitty place right now. And so just to like have it solidified and have people like you guys, like, it's just like, can I just clone you and make a million of you guys, and you guys can adopt all the orphans and save all don't save, ew, no, that came out of my mouth, gross. You know what I mean though, like, help the children, don't save, because I've had people tell me, oh, you were saved because you were adopted. I'm like, no, I wasn't.
That's right. Yeah.
So, but no, seriously,
I mean, Jesus saved you, but
it's true. But I'm from Colombia, so I saved from the drugs, remember? Like, everybody thinks I was a drug baby, so it's fine. Like, it's fine.
That's still the craziest stuff I've ever heard someone say to somebody.
The internet, man.
Wild.
Yeah,
the internet.
It's a tough place out there.
It's true. It's true.
Well, it is a tough place, and it's kind of, when you said internet and then he said a tough place, I'm sitting here thinking, I think this is probably gonna be the first episode where nobody can say anything mean.
It's true.
Like,
and if they do, they can suck
and
it.
if they do though, like, I just can't think of anything that wasn't just like
wholesome,
just
and
so,
made
like,
you feel good.
Wholesome. Wholesome's a really good word for that. I'm like looking at Milena on it, and like I see Ben out of my peripheral going, no. Like, no.
Well, look, we're so glad, we really are happy to share what we've been through. Like, this is our story, and this is what it looks like for us. And if others can be encouraged by it, then then absolutely, we're here for it. Like, I've met enough people. I've been around long enough to know that everybody has their hardships, and for me to be able to sit in a room and for us to be able to have conversations with people going through difficulties and be able to say, yeah, I've been there, I get it, that means a lot. And so, sure, I mean, there are times when it stinks, and there are times that I wish it wasn't happening, but at the end of the day, our life is just but a vapor, and the only thing that remains will be Jesus, who's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And so when you think about that, it's like, well, yeah, we'll be fine. So
I love it. I love it so much. Oh
I
my gosh, I just love it.
It's
like, really, Delancey, when I come, we got to do dinner with these guys, okay? When I come to Mississippi,
100%, that's a given.
Because I got.
Is that going to get you down here faster? Is that going to get you to Mississippi faster? Because I think you would like pass out if you experience Southern hospitality. Because
I would love it, dude. I really want to. Obviously not right now because the holidays, and my husband's got some crazy ass trips: Turkey, Australia. Like, he's got places he's got to go for work. And I can't leave my children at home by themselves.
Good point. That would be bad parenting. I know that.
That would be.
Leave my 9-year-old in charge. Good luck, sweetie. No, she would be like, Mom.
That won't fly with our adoption agency, I can tell you that.
But no, seriously, I want to. I seriously want to come out there. Like, and I would love to drag my husband because I know it's my children. So it's my littlest one. Dude. You want to come say hi? You can't
see it's like a forehead.
Headphones in. I say hi.
Hi. Hi. Welcome back.
What a stud.
Oh, don't touch, baby. Okay, you go get daddy.
No, I want a waffle.
You go tell daddy you want a waffle. Go tell dad. Or go tell Sissy.
With Sarah.
Okay.
With Sarah.
Hi.
Love you, dude.
He's a stinker. Okay, sorry about that.
That's awesome.
Anyway, so yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
What
I love when your kids make a guest appearance. It's my favorite.
They love it. They love the cameraman. It's just they love it so much. Anytime I watch our episodes over, hi Delancey. I'm like, she can't hear you. This is a recording. Sorry, guys. But
it's amazing. I absolutely adore your kids. Well, Milena, did you have any more follow-up questions?
No, this is just one that I'm excited for it to come out, and I'm excited to share it with everybody. And I'm gonna tell anybody and everybody they got to listen to it, because like I said, we both have a lot of adoptive parents that follow us, and I think it's just going to be really cool to share it from like a different perspective, not necessarily domestic, but like what you guys are going through, and just how you just got to hold on to your faith in God. And like, that's how me and Delancey both feel. Things will work out no matter how shitty, bumpy, crazy things get. He will make it happen. He will. So I love it.
Well, and what I love too is that even with like prospective adoptive parents, like even people who may not be in that season of life where they're looking to start their family, however that may look for them to start their family,
right?
Sometimes it helps to hear what other people are going through their journeys, to realize like, you know what, they've been through some stuff and they're still like happy go lucky, like joy, like true genuine inner joy. Like happiness is like it's from happiness, but inner joy, that definitely comes from having that relationship with God and with each other and having that foundation. So I'm thinking this will actually reach such a broader thing than prospective adoptive parents. This will help so many people realize that, you know what, it's okay to have a sucky day. It's okay to have something sucky happen to you. There are better things that are coming your way. You just have to keep moving along. Just keep swimming, like Tori says.
It's true.
Just keep swimming.
Do you guys have any closing like remarks or thoughts you want to share?
Of course, yeah. No.
This episode would have been a lot shorter if it was just me. I just want to point that out. I'm very glad that Ben came on here.
No, thanks for having us, y'all. You know, we hope to be an encouragement for anyone that listens. You know, and there's a phrase that I had a professor in college actually tell me all the time, and it was 3 words, and it was just hang in there. And particularly when it comes to adoption and just life in general, like for those of us that believe in Christ, our eternity is set, and like so we know how it ends. And so really, guys, we just got to hang in there. Like, just, you know, if it's tough, just hang in there, you know, and ultimately, you know, the Lord will show himself to be good, whether it be while we're still here or whether when we pass into eternity, you know, so wake up, hang in there, and, you know, surround yourself with good people. So that's sort of a phrase to live by, I suppose, for us, as particularly as you've listened to what we've been through. Not that it's anything wild, you know, there have been others, but, you know, we kind of just hang in there. So I appreciate what you guys are doing. I think it's awesome. You didn't know what you were getting into when you asked me to come on. You didn't know that I was excited as, you know, a little school kid ready to just you know, I love chatting. I love girl talk. You know, like I get all up in there, y'all. I'm telling you, I just love it. So,
oh my gosh, I love it.
So hopefully it's been good for you guys. And
no, it has been.
No, it has.
And feel free, like if any of your guys have questions or you get comments or anything, and you want a follow up, not even in like podcast form, but like if you have people that maybe have specific questions or you feel like may warrant like you know, whether it be just any type of communication, just let me know. I mean, I'm happy to talk. I mean, I'm happy to do whatever you guys need. Any talking about adoption is great. And the only way that more people will hear the need and feel the call is if they know that it's out there. And so, like, I'm totally supporting you guys 100% here. And if there's anything we can do to help, then you just let us know.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Seriously. Delancey, do you want to?
Welcome for bringing them on here.
Do you want to close it out, or do you want me to close it out?
I'll let you close it out since I did the intro. You're welcome.
Girl, I usually do the intro and the close out, but it's all good. Anyway, seriously,
I know, but I don't follow rules. Come on now. You don't do that.
Ben and Shelby, seriously, thank you so much for coming on. We so appreciate it. And we know this is going to touch so many people. So you guys, like he said, if you guys have questions, you follow me, you follow Delancey, you reach out to either one of us and we can hit them up and talk to them. As you can see, Ben is like super chill and will tell everything. Shelby is too. I'm not saying anything against it, but just like they're really open and they want to help anybody and everybody. So you guys, thank you so much. And we so appreciate you guys coming on and sharing your story and spending your night with us. So thanks, guys.